Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that some stories and discussions in this episode of Radiant Resilience may touch on sensitive and potentially triggering topics. These may include themes of death of a parent, terminal illness, emotional abuse, religious trauma, alcoholism and addiction, death of a partner, grief and complicated grief, and identity crisis. Our goal is to share real life experiences in a respectful and empathetic manner, offering insights into the complexities of the human spirit and the journey towards resilience. However, we understand that some content might be difficult for listeners. We encourage you to prioritize your well being and discretion when deciding to listen. Please remember this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice or support. If you find yourself needing assistance, we urge you to seek help from qualified professionals or trusted support systems. Your mental and emotional health is important to us. Thank you for your courage and for joining us in a space of understanding and compassion. Welcome back, everyone, to Radiant Resilience. I have a very special guest today. I have Gina Economopolous with me today. She was born in, is it Syosset, New York?
Syosset,
Syosset, New
close.
York. Oh, hey, I'm
Yes.
getting a reading lesson today. To a strong Italian and Greek loving family. She graduated from Eastern CT State University and bartended before embarking on a 12-year convent journey after her mother's passing. Settled on the New Jersey shore, Gina now works as an end-of-life doula, extending her compassionate heart to those in their final chapter. She found solace in sobriety as a proud Alcoholics Anonymous member, and her story of resilience through tragedy and faith inspires others to face life's challenges. Welcome, Gina. Thank you so much for coming today. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Tony. It's a pleasure and a joy
Yeah,
to be
I'm
here
really
with
excited
you.
to hear your story. I think it sounds super interesting how all of these things came together to bring you to where you are today. I'm going to let you start from wherever you think a good starting point is, and we'll just go for the ride.
Yes, that does. That sounds good. And like I said, it's a joy here to share my story because it's a true story. It's not fake. It's not fake news. It's real. And I've learned through experiencing the ups and downs of life, it becomes the person who I am today. And but yet there is a time during that time I was like, no, I would never share my story. Nobody knows this. I'll hold on to this pain, this hurt, whatever it was for the rest of my life. But yet I'm here today to share it. So it's a joy to be
Yeah.
here right now. And I will. I'll start back. I'm from Syosset, New York. It's on Long Island. I was raised in a big family of 8 children, the seventh child.
Okay.
They called me Gina Lola Brigida as a kid. So, as a kid, I was a cute kid. So everybody loved me. Compared to my sisters and my brothers, they were all tall, athletic. But yet, when I was born with a lot of physical problems, physical limitations, that I wasn't as athletic as my siblings were. I had many surgeries throughout my life. And even as a child, it came to a point where it was like, what's going to happen to me this year? Because always something
Hmm.
bad happens, whether I break my leg, go in for surgery, or something like that. So that
Oh.
kind of identity I formed myself as a
Ah.
child. But at the same time, my parents were loving, unconditional love. They sent us all through college, hardworking. Matter of fact, at a young age, maybe in my teens, of course, we all wanted to get married, but being raised in a large family, I says, yeah, I want to be married at the age of 18 and have 5 kids till I turn 25. That was
Oh,
my
yeah.
dream. Yeah.
I think
And,
it's so
and
funny. I totally had not as young of that, but I think I was the same way. I was like, oh, by 25, I'm gonna have all my kids, I'm gonna be done, I'm gonna be ready to go. And then I think I got married at 26. So,
it, I know, and it's so funny. And the reason why is because I saw my parents, the love for each other. My father was a hardworking dad, husband. My mother was one of those homemakers, the traditional. I grew up that way, and it worked. It
Mhm.
worked. But yet at the same time, I developed my own low self-esteem. I developed my own peer pressure. I was raised in the 80s. I compared myself to my siblings. Look at them. They're tall, beautiful, blonde, whatever. And here I'm this little short kid or whatever, the little one. I'm the shortest of the family, but everybody loved me because I had the smile.
Oh,
I just posed as a smile.
yeah.
And that's where I got Gina Little Bridget. So I was soaking in all that, the attention. I was seeking for that attention, hoping to feel it inside because inside I was lonely. Inside I didn't like myself. And so this is throughout my childhood, high school, friends with everyone. Everybody loved Gina. How could you not? I'm the small cheerleader on the side go and try to be that center of attention. And that's where, of course, I started my drinking and things like that. Just
Mm.
to be somebody I thought I wanted to be, but I wasn't, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I want to be this big person, and but yet it wouldn't brought me happiness. It did not bring me
Yeah.
happiness. And but as a kid, you don't realize that.
No.
You think everybody goes through it. Everybody has the peer pressure. Everyone has the insecurities and the low self-esteem and the self-hatred for oneself. But I can't say that because it happened to me.
In
Happened
high
to me.
school, that's like our entire world, right? Like we don't see outside the box of high school. And like
No,
everybody that judges you in there and everybody knows you for forever and all the things. And then yeah, it that seems like the whole world. I'll never forget. So I'm a hairdresser and I went to beauty school during my senior year of high school. And when I started beauty school, it was like my first real taste of what's outside of high school. And I was like, oh, none of that the last 4 years matters.
yeah.
So it's super interesting.
It is interesting because it's like another culture.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how high school is today if everything
Yeah.
going on. That's a story in itself. But
Yeah.
even when I grew up, I just because I looked at my sisters, the way they went through high school, and there was like not really that judging. There was no cliques. Everybody had fun. And then when it comes to the 80s, there's different cliques, different to belong to and who do you belong to. And I always wanted a boyfriend, but I really never had a steady boyfriend. I just felt out of place. I really did. I felt very much out of place with. And then that kind of stuck with me in college. You would
Mm.
think, well, okay, you graduated from high school, so you graduated from all this other emotional stuff that, okay, you'll be fine. And
Yeah.
I did go to college. I went to Eastern Connecticut. Like I said, my dad sent all of us to college, 8 of us back
Wow.
then. I can't, once again, we're in different eras, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I thank God that he did. And he always wanted to pay for our education and he always wanted us to go away to taste
Mm.
that life, to be on
Yeah.
my own. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And also, I never gave myself credit about education because all I want to do is have fun. That was
Yeah.
it. I just want to find a guy, get married, and have fun. That's it. That's my motto of life. And I did have fun in college. I graduated.
Yeah. Well, that's
But I was, I was just once again trying to look for something to be fitting in, and that's where my drinking really escalated in one way because I was away from my family.
yeah.
Because when I was with my parents and my family, I was the straight and narrow. I
Yeah.
was like, so I lived two different lives. I didn't see it back then. I'm just telling you in hindsight what I saw, my
Sure.
experience of what I saw. And so I did. I went through college, got a degree. I became a famous pool shark. I was a great billiards.
Oh,
Everybody loved me, hang out at the bars. And I also got a social work degree. It goes hand
yeah.
in hand.
Yeah. I
You
love that
know,
fun little fact.
yeah, it's the most easiest subject. All you do is write papers. I'm not a test person. I was not it was hard for me because I had
Mm.
to study. And
Yeah.
I have to laugh because I'm just thinking of this is that I would take when I had a major test, I would go to the bars, shoot my pool, bring my books with me, study in between, drink like a three-way thing, drink, shoot, study, go home, and then I would take my notes and put them under my pillow, hoping that they would come to my head. That's what I did. I was like, yeah,
That's
and I thought,
hilarious.
and everyone got a kick out of that. So I guess I was seeking that attention, and in so
Mm.
many ways, whether it's drinking or just doing goofy things like that. And I did, like I said, I graduated from college back in 1989, and at this point, my parents retired. My father, because my mother was 49 years old when she had my younger brother,
Oh,
Stephen.
wow.
She had me 42. 7 years later came Stephen. And so my father, they were in their late 40s.
Yeah.
And so when they were in their mid 60s, when the retirement age, Stephen was still in junior high. So they went to Pennsylvania. I had my oldest sister lived out there. She grew up, not that she grew up, she met her husbands from there, had kids, married. So they had gone there they retired during my college days. And then when I graduated, my mother says, "Oh, Gina, we built a nice room for you. You're welcome to come home." Because some parents don't want you to come home,
Yeah.
parents do, whatever. And
Yeah.
some kids don't want to go home. But at that time, it was the best option for me to go home. So I did. I just, I uplifted from the college atmosphere. I also uplifted from living on Long Island with my
Mhm.
friends by the beach and everything. And I went into the Harrisburg, a little country of Pennsylvania, and
Yeah,
with
big
my
change.
mom, yeah, with my mom, dad, and my brother, and with my sister being down the road. And so, of course, I had to get a job, right?
Mm.
And I got a social work degree, so I'm like, yeah, I'll get a 9 to 5 job. I'm a caring person. I do have a heart, so it comes easy.
Yeah.
So I here going for interviews. At the same time, you get a job to before you get your real job.
Yeah.
And that's when I bartended. I decided to
Okay.
bartend, and I bartended, and forget about that real job. It never came in my life, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So I bartended.
Nice.
How can I not? I had a pool table, I had a bar, I had my kind of people,
Mhm.
or I should say I was used to that environment, the
Yeah.
surroundings of a bar, of the drinking and being loved. And I was looking for that love. I believe once again, I'll speak for myself. I was looking for that love, acceptance, and
Mm.
you find it in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
And but during that bartending time, I was like, I really need to find a real job. And so I thought of being a cruise line director
Oh,
because,
interesting.
yeah, a Julie McCoy on the Love Boat. I was like, yeah, I could do this. Because I have a fun personality. I was like, hey, I love helping people. I love that atmosphere of fun, attention, and I love to travel. So I had a whole stack of cruise lines that I was filling out, and you had to get a picture and everything like that. But yet during that time, when I decided, okay, every time I decide to do something, there's always a wrench that comes in. So
Oh.
here, I decided to do this, and I don't want to call it a wrench, but my mother was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry.
and she was terminally ill. They came out
Mhm.
and she had 4 to 6 months to live.
Oh,
And
wow.
this was back in the early 90s, 1991. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? She was diagnosed with bone cancer right off the
Oh,
bat, which
wow.
it's all familiar. It wasn't familiar to us. So to me,
Yeah.
especially being with my mom, I'm 23 years old.
Oh,
My younger brother, Steven, just went off to college
oh
first
man.
semester. He was 17 when my mom was diagnosed with this. And it's okay. And then my 6 other siblings had their family in different states, their lives, their jobs. And so I didn't even think twice. I don't remember what I did with those applications because I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, mom, we're going to fight this. We're going to
Yeah.
fight this like that. And that's what I try to do in a sense. I was raised Catholic, went to church, but yet by this time I wasn't going to mass or I didn't have a relationship with God. Not that I didn't believe in him. I just no need to. And but yeah, when mom diagnosed with cancer, what did I do is I go back to church, pray.
Yeah.
My mother brings out her rosaries, and I'm like, yeah, we got this. And I did everything I could for her. As I see her dying, as I not realizing, I tried everything from prayers, rosaries, any kind of food or grapes, whatever. Yeah, mom, eat this, and she did. She died in 5 months of her. So the doctors were right in this time. People would say, "Oh, sometimes the doctors are wrong." They were right, and it was just a very hard time
Yeah.
for me
Yeah.
at that
I-
time. I
I can
thought,
imagine just watching someone you love so much suffer and go through all that too. Ugh, that's heartbreaking. I'm so
you know,
sorry. And so young,
it,
you said you were 23. That's so
I was
young.
23.
Mm,
Yes, it was. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't have a faith. I didn't have a relationship. So all I wanted, the way I look back, like in hindsight, it was like I thought I had mom in my hands, like we were doing everything from praying that she'll be healed and everything, and she just slept, went right through it. I couldn't save her. It couldn't me. I couldn't save her, and it was hard. It was hard to see someone, and but at the same time, I didn't realize it. I didn't
mm,
realize what I was doing. I didn't. I because my dad and I were there at every beck and call, 24/7, and I
mm,
still was bartending and we would take turns, whatever, being with my mom. We would never let my mom alone. And then when my siblings would come in, they did once a month or whatever, whenever they could, to spend some time with us. And they would say, "Oh my God, mom looks so bad." And I said, "She looks bad today. You should have saw her yesterday." You know what I mean? It didn't, nothing, it didn't bother me. And then even at the last day when she was dying, I was at her bedside.
mm,
My family couldn't watch her or anything. She was beautiful, Tony. She was
mm,
so beautiful. Her eyes just spoke so loud and clear. And that's what kept me going in a
mm.
sense. And even then, I was just like, no. And she had a bald head with little hair there. I smile about it now, but back then it was very hard because I learned that I not only I lost my mother, I lost my best friend because we became friends after college. And but I lost my child because I took care of her. So it was
Mm.
like all three in one. And that
Yeah.
and my dad and I had that extra relationship in taking care of her.
Yeah.
So we grew close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like the most, I would say the first tragic, yeah, I would say it was the first trauma tragic in my life, a
Mm.
dark place.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was in hell. And for me, hell is no God, no faith, no hope, no love. That to me,
I
that's a hell.
imagine growing up in a religious environment like that, that something like that could easily make you angry with God and like why, especially at that age too, when you don't
Yeah.
fully understand God's plan and things like that, that I imagine the anger there was probably pretty deep rooted.
Yes, it was. You're so correct because when she was at wake, when we were at the wake, and people they mean, but they would
Mhm.
say, "Oh, your mom's with God. She's at peace. She's in heaven." I'm like, "She's not with me."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I said, "Don't say that. She's not with me." And then yeah, something inside me said, who the heck is this God person? That was my quest. Who the heck is this God person that we hear about that I learned in catechism? But yet in school, I didn't want to be part of that group because they were whatever they call them back then. I don't remember, but they weren't the
Yeah.
cool people. So I didn't. Now and then I might have got involved. But I'm like, oh my God, they see me, my friends see me. And so I did not have a relationship, a relationship with God or a real faith or belief in him. So when I, in my mind say, who the heck is this God person? I did go into the church and and I yelled and I said, God, they say that you're here. I don't want to talk to you. Please get out. I want to talk to my mom because they say my mom's with you. I'm as you're going to tell, Tony, I'm a very blunt person. I'll
Yeah.
say it like it is. I may say it the wrong time, but you know what? This is me.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to know. I want to know. Give me a couch and I'll share you everything. That's
Yeah.
and that's how I was like during that time, grieving for my mom. I was searching for the meaning of life, for the purpose
Mm.
of life, for the meaning of God. I was crying. Anyone who came to me, a stranger, I would tell the whole situation with my mom being there and
Mm.
telling her how she died and why was became my another identity of mine.
Whys, you can spiral into the whys real quickly on a lot of grief. That's a tough one. And then tough to come out of too.
It is. And I remember when you say that because back then, after mom's death, a plumber came to our house. I'm still living with my dad, and this plumber I didn't know. I just crying, let the dog telling about my mom, and he said to me, back then I didn't understand, but now I do. He says, when you stop asking why, you will see.
The plumber said that?
Yeah, plumber said that.
Oh,
When you,
wow. Wise plumber.
I was a wise plumber. I was like, oh,
Oh,
really? But then
stop
I didn't want to
asking
hear
why.
it.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course not.
When you stop asking why, and in the long run, it's true. But
Mhm.
one has to get to that in your
Yeah.
heart and mind. And so as I continue in my journey, I did find God. I found Jesus. I found my
So,
Catholic faith
so
again.
you were mad at God for your mom dying and being sick and everything. So what eventually prompted you to go to a convent?
Because I had during as I was searching and going back to church, going back to my Catholic faith, receiving the resurrection, I did go on a pilgrimage. It's a Catholic, you go to a shrine. And I went to this shrine out in Croatia. It's called Medjugorje. It's a place where our Blessed Mother allegedly appears. It's like Fatima. If those Catholic would be familiar with all, it's an apparition place.
Okay.
So I did during that time of real grief. That's a story in itself for me getting there, but I got there and I really tasted what heaven was like. I
Hmm.
tasted what I can't explain it. The Blessed Mother surrounded me and I really tasted what heaven was like. And I remember being there at the time and leaving. And I said, Mom, if this is heaven's, then I know where you're at, like that. And then, but of course, I had to grow in that. And so then I went from that kind of experience of the resurrection or tasting heaven, one would say that I got more involved in the church. So I went from living a Sodom and Gomorrah, living in a dark place, and
Yeah.
then I get the light, and I said, "Oh, maybe I'm joined to be a sister."
Okay.
So I did because everybody loved me. I
Yeah.
was like only a fun person in the dark times. I was a fun person in the light times.
Nice.
Like a very caring, compassionate, loving. Everybody loved me, and I had met these Franciscan friars and sisters years at one right after during that time, and when you have this conversion, you're like, yeah, you're in the light, you're tasting good. And then I come across this religious order of young men and women that was on fire for God and they were living an austere life. And I'm like, that's me. So I did. I joined back, I joined in 1997. And once again, this is going to be my life. That's it. It's just, as you see, my pattern is that I think my life is this. And then when it
Well,
comes
yes.
down
And
to it,
when you're young, you think this is it. This is gonna be my life because we're not gonna have to go through anything else in life. I figured it out. This is it.
and I always thought I figured it out. And so I joined but I was a nun for 12 years in the South Bronx of
Okay.
New York. And it was great. I was like a honeymoon stage in the beginning, but yet our community was small, was beginning, so there was a lot of tension, a lot of there, and make another. It's a real long. It's not a long story, but it's a story that it just. People ask me, why did you leave? That's a question. I said, why did I leave? Because I endured a lot of pain and suffering, and then ultimately it wasn't God's will for me at the end.
Mm.
But I had to go through a lot of pain, suffering, persecution, betrayal, you name it, hurt.
While you were in the convent?
Well, I was in the convent as a sister in the hands of the
Oh.
community. So I came to a point years later because I had to go through a lot of healing within myself and at first I'm like, no, I can't say it, but I was emotionally abused in the
Oh,
community.
wow.
And I say that freely. That's because
Yeah.
before I was like, no, I can't say that. But in a nutshell, and looking at my past and how I was being treated, it wasn't love, it wasn't kindness, and I was broken. But at the same time, looking back, I was a broken person back then. i was
Yeah.
i was still looking for that love and that acceptance, and I thought I would find it among the sisters in the church. But for
Sure.
some reason, personality clashes. Once again, everybody loved Sister Regina. That's where I picked up that name, sister, everybody. And everybody knew me. I was a very well known. Everybody knows this community, very well loved, well known. And to this day, they are well loved and well known.
Mhm.
And God bless them. But during that time, I endured the cross. I endured a lot of hardship that I just kept pushing forward. And now as a sister, it's in the seventh year that you make your final vows, which
Oh,
means you get married to God.
okay.
Up until those 7 years, I kept discerning because you discern, do I belong here? Do I not? Is this the
Yeah.
right place? Is this not? And there were many times during that time I felt in my heart I wasn't at peace. And I said, this is not the right place.
Oh, wow.
And I would share it with my superior and as well as my director, he was a priest he started the community of sisters. And they would always say, no, you're in the right place. God wants you here.
Yeah.
So I believe, okay, God's speaking through them. I trusted them, and this is where I am. This is
Hmm.
what I'm doing. But yet, as time went on, then I made my final vows. And then afterwards, it was a lot of pain, a lot of, have you ever been in a convent or under a roof with 12 women?
No, I am a hairdresser and I work with a lot of
Okay.
women
So
through
you
the
kind of,
years. I imagine.
I, and I'm a woman, so I don't mind to say
Yeah.
there's jealousy and envy. There's people, we have our own personality conflicts. We
Yeah.
have our own issues.
Yeah.
And I say that because I am a woman and
Right.
I know that. And I was hurt by them. I
Mm.
was hurt by them. And the main hurt came after when I made these final vows. Now, funny thing is, I should have listened, but I wasn't listening to people. But my cousin, the day of my final vows, there's like about 600 people in the church. I'm going to lay my life down. My cousin Ramo, he takes me in front of the Blessed Mother's statue. He goes, are you sure you want to do this? This is a very dysfunctional family,
Oh
community.
no.
And I was like, yeah, Ramo, I'm at peace. God loves me. Because I was at peace at that
Yeah.
moment. I was like exhuming with peace. Yeah, this is my life. Okay. Even on the outside, a lot of people saw the dysfunctional on the inside, but
Interesting.
I was being fed by it, or I didn't have anything in me to
Mm.
say, hey, this is wrong. I got to go.
I
I,
think there's something to be said too about when you're in that moment and that's what you've decided your life's going to be, that's the direction you want to go. You convince yourself that is the right thing because the alternative of leaving or whatever would upend your entire beliefs and world at that time.
So true. And the most belief up there is God's rejecting me. I married
Mm.
him and he's rejecting me.
Oh,
I put my heart, blood, and sweat and tears in this. And so when I made those final vows, like I said, I was in peace. Or it was great, great. But then once again, after peace comes the descent, whatever you want to call it, the cross, the pain, and the last 2 years, and then about maybe 3 years after I made my final vows, this three sisters, the superior and the two others, and the priest came up to me or had a meeting. And here I'm thinking, because I wanted to be something new, because I knew there was something wrong within me. I want to
mm,
be me. I want to be me. At this point, I'm filled with fear. I'm filled to do something because I'm going to get yelled at because that's what exactly being under the safest place for me in the convent was in the chapel with Jesus. I was like, I'll stay here. And people saw me stay in that chapel all day long is because it was safe in there for me. It
wow.
was like, that's why I able to stay in the chapel to pray or to sit or read, whatever it may be. And then when I was out in the community, serving the poor, doing sharing, whatever, I loved it and everybody loved me. But then when I came into the convent, being with the sisters, it was like I was walking on eggshells.
Mm,
And so then they came to me one day, or we had this meeting, because here I'm thinking, okay, I got a new spiritual director. And I said, okay, I'm going to start something new. I'm going to be me, because I felt like me was being crushed.
mm,
And I thought, yeah. But then they said to me, they said, we need a break from you. I was like, ah, a break from me. Yeah, and those are their exact words.
oh
And
my
I just
goodness.
was like, and I share all this because, and as later on we'll share, I did write my book, so everything more details is in my story.
Yeah.
And so they gave me options, and two options was to go to Tijuana, I think it was, I don't remember. It was Tijuana, or to go to a therapy place for
Okay.
sisters and friars or brothers and priests. So I decided, I said, hey, I like to talk, I like a couch. Let me go for therapy. Why not?
Yeah.
And I did. It was a 3 month program. I went out to Michigan, and I think people could identify. It's like when your marriage is on the rocks or something, you need counseling. You go for
Yeah.
counseling. You go somewhere. You work it out. You made your final vows, and I did everything that
Yeah.
I could. And So I was in Michigan for 4 months and came back, had a new mindset. Okay, okay. I realized I was a people pleaser, anger management, everything like that. But yet the community didn't see anything wrong that I wouldn't be able to fit into this. The community was sisters that did the therapy. Like it was a whole different, so the place did not see anything wrong for me not to fulfill my vocation
Okay.
with the sisters and the, so I'm like, okay, that's great because it is true, Tony. Would never thought of not leaving. Where would I go and things like that. So I'm like, okay, I did it. And but yet a lot of things came up and I learned that I needed a real spiritual healing
Mm.
from when I was there for 4 months for the therapy. I learned that I really like a spiritual healing from the get-go of my birth and being physically limited. That whole and at that point, I didn't really understand what they were saying. And I was like, okay, I'll go for it. I'll pray. And the only way to do it is to pray. It's not like taking a medicine or things like that. And so I prayed. And then during that time, somebody shared with me that there were another religious community in Nebraska that does silent retreats. And I was like, wow, let me go in silence. Let me see. Let me hear. Let me. And so I did. This time, my community would do anything for me because for everything that was happening to me up to that point, word was getting out, people were upset,
Mm.
and it was a hot mess. It really was. It was a hot mess for both sides. And so I did. I went away for the 1 month of silence. I ended up staying 7 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've often
Yeah.
wondered about those silent, because there's a lot of them in Nepal and India and stuff too. And I think that, I don't know, I think it would be so hard, but I think you could learn a lot about yourself in that time period.
Yes, and I believe it's a grace-filled moment. In that 1 month, I there's so much stirred up within me that
Mm.
I couldn't leave. I couldn't
Oh.
leave. So I asked permission to stay as long as I can, and I'm a slow learner. I'm a slow learner. So by the time in 7 months, I was like, aha, that's the key. It's in the heart. It's the
Mm.
relationship of the heart with God, with the spirit, with someone that's not you, someone that's greater than you. And for me, it was God. I was like, aha. So when you have this real experience, now this is like my second real, this is like really a real deep experience I had that I come back to the community. And what do you want to do is share with your sisters, right? You share with
Yeah.
your family, but they weren't open. It was just, it was like a hot mess. And then it went back to the old ways. I changed, they didn't change, and I
Mm.
wanted them to change. And so a few months after that, I was told that I didn't belong there anymore. After they kept saying you belong here,
Oh, wow.
and so yeah, so I had left after 12 years after all that hard work. And in hindsight, it was the best day of my life. I could see
Oh.
now, but back then, it's like now I'm 42. What do I
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. When your whole life was spent in the convent and serving God and all of that stuff, and that was your community and your work and everything, I imagine there was a bit of an identity crisis happening there.
You're very smart. Yes, it's
Oh,
so true. You're right on because it was. I remember I ended up going to live with men and women with disabilities, being a house mom. It was a transition time, but the next day after I gave them my habit, everything. I had to give them a letter, etc., to say my goodbyes.
you know, they
I
kicked you out.
I know. And but yet they wanted me to write a letter saying that it was my decision, my yeah. And I didn't write that kind of letter. I wrote another letter. My director at the time said that your community is not well. Your community is crushing your personality.
Mm.
Just and I was wearing my habit for 12 years, and the community did say you could take your time to take off the habit when you can, whatever, and mail it back to us. But my director says, no, you take it off when you say your goodbyes, and up until then, read the scripture, shake the dust off your feet and walk. Just read that
Mhm.
scripture, do it, and like that. And okay, because so when I left there, I was wearing a prairie skirt. I changed out of my habit, which was a full habit, no hair, everything, and wore like one of those bumpkin, I don't know what they call bandanas again. And so here I am, said my goodbyes. It was like an open wake. Like everyone, they
Mm.
couldn't say anything to me. They were in order not to say, they just said
Oh.
goodbye, kissed me on the cheek, and I was like, oh, at least I felt like an open wake. And then so my next day I went to go live with these men with disabilities. And when you had said about identity crisis, I was going to church, praying my rosaries, doing my office, and I'm in the church that I'm in Jersey now doing this. And some lady afterwards sees me because I'm dressed looking like a prairie girl. And she says, Sister, what order are you from? I look like a sister, but I said, who, me? I said, you know what? I said, to be honest, I don't know who I am. I just left my order yesterday.
Oh.
And so she couldn't say anything because I'm very blunt. I'm like, it's how I feel.
Yeah.
And so it's true. I had to go through I went through an identity crisis of who am I? God, what's going on? How could these good people hurt me? How did
Plus, you
I
mentioned
could
rejection too, I'm sure, from
Oh
them.
yeah. From
Hmm.
them, from God. It's we were
Mm.
married. I had my ring on, and it's who am I? And I just was like, and then coming into the world in the year 2008.
Mm.
And if you hear my story as before it, I never really had a it was like going, taking care of mom, do. So so thank God I went to live with men and women with disabilities. They loved me unconditionally. I was there for 2 years. And then after 2 years, I was tired of serving. I was tired of helping others. I was tired of, because as a nun, like I share with you, we served the community.
Yeah.
We worked and lived with the poor, helped the elderly, the shut-ins, go to the hospitals, going to the dying, being with the dead, youth, gang
Yeah.
members, you name it. I was always there. And so when I came, so after, and then now serving the men and women with disabilities, which was great, but it was like, you know what? I don't know what I wanted. I don't know. I don't really know who. At that point, after 2 years, I knew I wasn't going into a religious life because
Mm.
people who knew me as the sister was like, "Oh, you're a great sister. You're a great prayer. You love everyone. You love everyone. Are you going to go into another order?" And I'm thinking to myself, why would I want to go to another order and get hurt with women? I
Yeah.
don't like women.
Yeah.
And so, anyhow, after the 2 years there, I decided to come to the Jersey Shore, and that's where I am today, where the beach, heaven and earth,
Mm.
and still broken, but not as bad.
Mm.
I was healed from the men and the women there that I was serving. And like I said, I was tired of serving. So I went back to bartending. I needed a job. So I went back to bartending, being familiar with that place, and
You
nobody
still have
knew I
your
was in.
pool skills?
I still do. I
Awesome.
still do. I still do. Like when you fall off a horse, you go back on and you ride it. If you don't, even to this day, I haven't played, but I know. Well, I know. I love playing. And when
Yeah.
you love something, you're good at. That's it.
Yeah.
It comes with the territory. So I bartended, and I'm like, okay, let me start over. And I rented a winter rental. This to me was like foreign. Renting an apartment, a winter rental, and when you're in your 40s, it
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. And it had furniture. It had furniture. And
Ah.
I was like, oh my God, it has furniture because I wouldn't know how. That's why I share this because I didn't know how or what I would like for
Mm.
furniture.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh,
like a great place.
that's amazing. So
Yeah.
then what led you into finally doing the death doula stuff?
Oh, okay. That's coming.
Okay.
I think,
Okay, I'm
but
jumping the
no,
gun.
no, yeah, it's not that you jump in the gun. When I was a nun, okay, when my mom died, I didn't want to take care of anyone who was dying. And then I get this, like I said, I tasted heaven. I know where my mom's at. So if I know where my mom's at, those who pass, in my eyes, in my heart, they're in a very peaceful place. So that always stuck with me. As a sister, no, that's where I learned my end of life doula as a sister because I was always with people who were dying. They would
Mm.
call me and I loved it.
Oh.
I would go, whether with a statue, with a rosary, or just myself. people I knew, people I did not know, people I would help them with wakes for their kids because a lot of crime, a lot of
Mm.
youth had died. And so I just, because I knew they were with God. And when I knew where they were God, it's like it was a passion to help them, whether they're Catholic, non-Catholic, didn't matter. Say, okay, you're going home. You're going to a better place. You're going to a better place. So that was instilled in me as a nun, grew in me. Yeah. I guess it instilled me with my mom, but at that time I was like, no way, Jose. But then tasting the life after, just tasting heaven, it's like, yeah, this is, and people used to call me Sister Death, and because, and then people would say, if I'm dying, don't call Sister, or if I'm in the hospital, don't call Sister Regina. I don't want her to visit
Oh.
me. Because every time I visited someone, they usually pass away when I'm there or afterwards. And I
Mm.
could always sense, I could always, not, I never know the time or date, never, because it's in God's time. But I'm like, wow, I sense the heaven
Mm.
is preparing for this soul, or the
Mm.
angels are here. Yeah. And so it was a great love that even as when I was a sister, I wanted to be, I don't know, everyone heard of Mother Teresa. Yeah, so what did she do? She loved giving, she would always be with the dying on the streets, the dignity, give them the dignity. And that kind of instilled in me because I had met her a few times and it was just her radiance. And it was like, yeah, I would love to be go on the street when somebody's dying, when they're alone, say, no, you are loved, you are loved.
Mm.
That was very instilled in me. That was like seeds planted. And then once, even after I left the nunnery, the convent, I happened to be at places or visiting people and they would die. I didn't mind. I didn't like, oh, you want to come visit me? Yeah, I don't mind. I did not mind. And then, but then yet, here I'm getting, so when I was bartending, I met this guy, Danny. So once again, it's okay, my fifth goal in life. I finally find a man. Yeah, I'm gonna finally have a my white picket fence. I won't have five kids because I'm in my late 40s and he's in his 50s, whatever. But hey, I'll find someone to grow old with.
Mm.
But then I come to find out he's an alcoholic and he was
Mm.
drinking at the time. And I didn't, at that point, once again, another journey, I did not know what an alcoholic was per se.
Yeah.
I just thought it was somebody under the bridge with a brown paper
Mm.
bag. But yet I know that's not the case today. And so here, Danny was trying to stop, and I was going to Al-Anon, which is a separate program. He was going to AA. He did find sobriety in his demons battling, and he found sobriety. And now we're excited because he found sobriety out west in Arizona. So we're like, yeah, this is great. So in the summer of 2012, he had 2 months sober, which was great. One day, great man, this is it, that he came back to the Jersey Shore. Okay, Gina, we're going. We're gonna go. And I said, I'll go wherever that supports you in your sobriety, even
Yeah.
if it's in Timbuktu. That's because there was such a love beyond. And I felt
Mm.
he loved me for me. And I always said, Danny loved me for me the way, and the sisters love me the way they like pizza. That's how I differentiate the
Yeah.
love there. But anyhow, Danny's story is Danny's story.
Mm.
He came to get his truck to drive cross country with all of his tools, and his mom went for a ride and they got into a tragic car accident in
Mm.
Indiana. You get that phone call that's a 360-degree turn
Mm.
that they were in an accident. Mom burned up, Danny burned up, but he's uplifted and he's in Indianapolis in the hospital. So it's okay. Because all along, Tony, I felt like everything in my life, I would never get everything in my life. You know what I'm saying? After this, I said, I don't understand, God. Why is this?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, back to why. It's like, how
Yeah.
can this happen? I don't deserve peace or happiness or somebody loves me. And so he survived. He survived this accident, but
Oh.
yet he did see his mom burn up and he was
Mm.
burnt from half of his body. And of course, I uprooted Jersey, lived in Indiana with him. We connected with the AA group around there. And then, but then yet what does an alcoholic do when they're in pain, especially seeing your loved one burn up, that he drank? So he drank, I flipped out. I'm like, how could you do this? And then he ultimately died. I found him dead a few months after that,
Oh
a
my
month before our
God.
wedding day. So
Oh, Gina.
yeah, yeah. That was in March of 2013. So coming up this next month, March will 12 years. And when I found him dead, and he ultimately died of the disease, he happened to fall and hit his head and died. Yes, so that's where another beginning of my journey. Once again, it was the worst day of my life, but then it had hindsight, it became the best day because it's who I am today. When he died, I was flatlined. Like I was just simply existing. I came back to the Jersey Shore. I hated life. I hated God. I hated everyone. And but yet I just kept moving. My dad was alive still at the time, and he helped me, supported me. I did get an apartment. After 2 years, I started smiling again. Whatever. It was just a really complicated grief. It was to the point, Tony, it was like that was my life. It was meant to suffer. The purpose was to suffer. Gina was to suffer in life. And then through that journey, through just existing, I was invited to go to this AA meeting just to come check it out. And I was like, why? I says, and then at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, let me find out why these people are sober and Danny's dead. I just couldn't understand. Danny was a great man. He loved me. Why did I get hurt by the sisters? And I couldn't understand any of this. So I did. I go into the rooms. I don't identify myself as an alcoholic. I'm just there listening. And then within the year, I realized that I'm an alcoholic. I realized it was on April 2nd, 2015, that I raised my hand to say, usually I would say the desire not to pick up, but I said, my name is Gina. I am an alcoholic. And I was like, oh my God, not again. What is this? It's a new check. I know today it was through God's grace and it is his words because somebody had said to me like a month before this, had planted a seed that says, Gina, you come to these rooms of AA every day. You say you're not an alcoholic, but what is your relationship with alcohol? Oh boy. Oh yeah, I couldn't stop. Oh, like pain. Oh yeah, what did I do? Pain. I would drink it away. So it's like we all have different stories in the rooms, but yet we have that disease, cunning, baffling cities, but we have that pain, that soul sickness, and I was like, oh my God. And here seeing Danny, it was just so from that day forward, God willing, in April, I'll have 10 years of sobriety. And from that day forward, one day at a time, I kept opening up, one would say, looking at my past, embracing Gina, embracing who I am. Had to go through a lot of woods or in my heart, a lot of dark places to see and say, oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. And also, when I went in, like I did say, I really hated God. I hated God with a passion. And people would come up to me and they would say, God loves you. They want to be nice once again. This was in the rooms afterwards if I was crying, because I always cried. And it was always about Danny and well, God loves you. God loves him. And I'm thinking to myself, no crap, God loves me. I'm divorced to him. We're divorced. He's my ex-husband.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
He's sleeping on the couch. I know who he is, but right now he's on the couch.
Yeah.
But then yet, once again, God did for me what I could not do for myself, to be honest, open and willing. And I started working this program of 12 steps and saying I'm powerless, etc. And then I got a new relationship with God, a new higher power who I do choose to call God. And in that, it's wow, this is what I've been searching for my whole life as a kid, is that knowing who I am. Like, who am I? Yes, I'm an alcoholic, but I'm a sober woman of faith of God. I'm a child of God. And it's wow, I like myself.
Oh.
Wow, I can embrace Gina. Yes, I don't have to go searching. I could stop running. And this is all interior what I'm talking about, like running. Like I could face life to my best ability. I'm still human and I still get angry, scared, or whatever.
Sure.
But I have the tools, I have the program, I have God, I have people, I have the scriptures, I have God. That right now, like I'm in it together, and I have my experience in the past. No, I don't want to go back to that dark place again.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to that thing. So today, now in the last couple of years, I still have the passion for the dying and the death and grief. Grief is my best friend. I had a grief. I don't have to go to school to teach someone how to or show. I don't. It's through me It's my life experience and what I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced. But somebody had said, do you know you could be an end of life doula? Now, this is how it comes into the picture. And I'm like, what is that? And they said, to be with the dying. And I was like, you mean you could get paid for it? Your service? And she says, yeah, you could take a course. She connected me with someone local who's been an end of life doula. I took a course online, and the course it didn't scare me. I knew exactly it's my passion, my heart. Of course, I learned things about paperwork in case one of the family service saying, Gina, can you help me do power of attorney or something? I could always guide them or direct them. But mostly my presence is to be a peaceful presence, to be present to them and to help their loved one and even themselves to transition from this life to the next and to give them that dignity and the respect and the love that everyone deserves with people, without people, that you are loved and you have the dignity to pass from this life. So that's my story, and I'll stick to it.
Wow, what an incredible story. You've been through so much. I just admire you so much because you're such a light too now. So after all the darkness, you found the
Yeah.
light and that was such a great story.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
which now brings us to, I guess, you wrote a memoir. So if people
Yes.
want more details about Gina's story, what is the name of the memoir?
It's called Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk. You can
Hmm.
find it on Amazon.
Okay. We'll link it in the
I,
show notes for sure. So if anybody
okay.
wants to find it.
And I also have a website, ginaecon.com. So I share with all your listeners and those whoever listening maybe knows someone that just needs to wants me to say hello to or pray
Mhm.
with or whatever. I'm always here. So you can always contact me through my website, ginaecon.com, and it has a lot more other information on that.
That's amazing. So how long have you been doing the end of life doula stuff now?
I want to say about 3, 4 years. I feel like I've been doing it my whole life as a
Yeah, well,
sister.
sure.
Yeah, but as a certified end of life doula, whenever it comes up, yeah, about 3 or 4 years. I've been certified,
Yeah, yeah.
but
But
yeah.
really your whole life, really since your mom passed, huh?
Yeah. And ironically, my during that time when my mom died, we had hospice. And the social worker said to me after my mom died, he said to me, you would be very good for hospice. I said, over my dead body will I be with somebody dying? I said, it's only my mom, and I really meant it. But yet, once
Wow.
again, these are seeds are planted. So seeds always are planted in our hearts. And in hindsight, yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind going to funerals, wakes, or someone whatever they need, dying, doesn't matter what they look like in my people and wherever they are,
Yeah.
to be present,
I
hold
hate that
hands, whatever.
I hate that hindsight is always 2020. Wish,
Yeah,
like in that moment, how
I
interesting would
know.
it have been for you to be like, all right, I'll give that a try.
Exactly.
How
Yeah, I
different would your
mean,
life have been? It's those are always interesting conversations too, right? Of like that one decision of that could have taken your life a completely different direction than you anticipate or than it
yeah.
went.
Yeah, it is. Yes, I could talk about, yes, it's so true. It's
Oh.
so true. But yeah, I look at my life and I always say this, that every path, every nuts, every cranny, every seed, every pain, rejection, everything
Mm.
is what I needed for being the person I am today, to be able to share it with you and your listeners. And maybe because someone could identify and say, I'm not going to give up. There is a reason. There is something. There is something. There is always something.
It's so hard to see when you're in the darkness, though, when you're in the
Yeah.
depths of the
Oh,
darkness. And I've been there myself of just feeling like, okay, light at the end of the tunnel. What are these people talking about? But it takes time and it takes work, and eventually you do get there. I've
it's
asked,
so true.
I've asked a lot of people on this podcast about would you change anything of your story? And most people have said no because it's made them who they are today. Obviously, there's aspects you would change, like you would love to have had your mom around longer and things like that. But I think it's very interesting that even though we've all gone through these really tough things, You look back on it and you're like, oh, I learned a lot from it, really, at the end of the day, when you get to the other side of the darkness.
Yeah. And then I also get to see each other's person's story that was in my story. Like Danny,
Mm,
that was Danny's story.
mhm.
Granted, he died at a young age. He wouldn't want to come back here again and that was his story. And that's one thing I've learned is that we all have a story to be told
Yeah.
and it's unfolding each day. It's our story. It's God's story. It's your
Mhm.
higher power story. It's a
Mhm.
story for you personally for you alone. And yeah, and each day you try to do the best of your ability to go in that direction, whether it's a step, a jump, or a step, or a sit and do nothing, whatever it may
Yeah.
be, because it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Gina, for sharing
Thank
all of that. I do not take it lightly. I'm very grateful that you were willing to come on here and share all of that and rehash through all that stuff. It's never an easy
you.
thing. So thank you so much. Do you have any parting words for my listeners?
I, oh yes, I always say, do not give up, do not lose hope. You are loved, and if nobody told you that they love you today, just know I do.
You're so sweet. I love it. Oh, thank you
Thank you.
so much. And I will link everything in the show notes for people to get a hold of Gina. If anybody wants to read her book or get a hold of her on her website, work with her, I will do all that. But thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, and thank you for your service for spreading that message of hope and strength through all your guests. So appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. And thanks everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next episode.